Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Thursday, November 7th. I am Marlene Cuellar. The Belize Coast Guard and police searched an area outside Belize City on the George Price Highway looking for 18-year-old Jaswant Brooks. Brooks, who is now missing for 3 days, went to purchase items and did not return home. The Belize City man was last seen in the Lake Independence area sometime around 11 on Monday. His family describes him as low-key and is hoping he will be safely located, though there are reports that he may have been killed and dumped in the river due to retaliation. Today, police shared what they know about Brooks's disappearance.
Mr. Ken Brooks visited the Precinct 2 police station and reported that his son, Jaswant Brooks, 18 years of age, was last seen on Monday when he left from his residence and rode to go purchase some items within the vicinity. So far, Mr. Brooks cannot be located. Police have conducted several searches in the George Price Highway, but up to now he has not been located. We are working along with the family members and other groups to try to locate the male person.
Do the family consider it extremely unusual that he went missing like this, sir?
Yes, it is something that the family are saying, that he's a person that keeps to himself. He does not mingle with anybody, and he does not do this kind of things. He has never been out for so many days now. That is why they are concerned, and that is why we are looking and assisting with the many searches in the different areas.
Has the family shared that of any incident that may have happened before his disappearance?
No, we have good communication with them, and every little information that we are getting from them, we are following it up.
Is it believed that the disappearance of Mr. Brooks is in any way related to any recent murders that may have occurred in the Belize district?
That is what we are hearing from different sources, but however, we are following other leads that we have likewise, no?
A search for the missing Belize City youth proved fruitless this morning. CIB requested the assistance of the Belize Coast Guard to conduct a search at Burden Canal along the Philip Golson Highway. Operations Officer Lieutenant Roque Canal told News 5 that officers found new clues of Jaswant Brooks.
And the area that was searched was from the 6 Miles Bridge heading towards the river. However, after 2 hours of searching along the river, we did not see any signs of this person. No? But we have one unit, one boat conducting search along the river. So in the river, the type of search is limited. So what we're doing, we're just searching along the banks of the canal. No, not have any divers. The reason why is because so far it is uncertain as to where this person is or was last seen. You know, that we don't have this information, so we're just acting on information that we're receiving. So in this case, this morning, CIB from the police informed us that they wanted to also assist in the search in that area. However, again, the information I was given was that it is not certain. They're just information that they're receiving. So we don't have a specific area where it is required for us to search to say that that we need to send divers. No.
The search continues on Friday. Anyone with information regarding Brooks's whereabouts is asked to contact 655-7752 or 629-7970. The investigation into a brazen armed robbery in Bamapan led police across the Guatemalan border. Just before 9 o'clock on Wednesday night, police were called out to the branch of the Rice Company Circle R along Mile 45 on the George Price Highway, where 2 men reportedly held up and tied an employee and proceeded to escape in a cargo truck and a motorcycle. The thieves also stole personal items from the employee, Hector Alvarado. Police quickly tracked the cargo truck, which was found in Melchor de Mencos, Guatemala. Senior Superintendent of Police Alberto Romero says that 2 suspects are being sought.
Police responded where they found Hector Alvarado, who reported that he parked the company vehicle inside the compound and went to a room nearby. Shortly thereafter, he heard knocks on the door. He opened the door and he was approached by a male person who pointed a firearm at him. The person proceeded to tie him up, and thereafter, Alvarado heard the sound of engines outside. He managed to lose himself half an hour thereafter, and then realized that a cargo truck and a motorcycle were stolen from the compound. A report was made, police conducted investigation, and the cargo truck was recovered across the border in Melchor. Investigation into this matter continues.
According to Romero, the cargo truck was empty. It is not certain if the thieves wore masks and if there is security footage of the aggravated burglary. Investigators, however, know little about the two suspects.
The robbers or thieves were wearing masks.
I will not disclose that information at this time. We know two persons came to that compound and stole the items.
Do investigators know where the suspects are from?
We do not know where the suspects are from.
So what are the investigators making of the fact that the stolen vehicle ended up across the border?
The truck the robbers managed to get the truck across the border. Again, quick police response. It was trucked and it was recovered across the border.
Are investigators looking at the angle of an inside job?
At this time, we are looking for two suspects. That is all we have at this time.
Was it loaded with cargo, sir?
I will need to check on that if it had cargo.
There have been no arrests yet in the attempt on the life of Eric Tillett. The 27-year-old was shot as many as 5 times on Lavender Street in Belize City as he walked to his house. While there is gang activity in that area and Tillett is reportedly involved, he tells police he does not know who took aim at him. Here is a report on the latest shooting victim with News 5's Isani Caetano.
27-year-old Eric Tillett was the target of a lone gunman as he made his way home on foot sometime after 6 o'clock on Monday evening. Upon nearing his residence on Lavender Street, Tillett's assailant unleashed a hail of bullets at him. Neighbors say as many as 14 shots were fired in Tillett's direction. Despite being hit 5 times, he is lucky to be alive.
At about 6:30 p.m., police visited Lavender Street, where they observed Eric Tillett suffering from apparent gunshot wounds to the body. He was transported to the hospital where he is still admitted in a critical but stable condition. What police has gathered so far is that Mr. Tillett was walking towards his residence, and upon reaching in front of the gate, someone came from behind and fired several shots at his direction, causing the injuries to him.
Tillett, whose most recent brush with the law was on May 9th when he, along with several others, was caught in possession of several household items stolen during a burglary at Malton and a Half on the George Price Highway. Incidentally, that location was the home of Slane High School principal Alaris Androin. For that offense, Tillett and 6 others were charged for burglary. The attack on him on Monday evening may not be related. What is certain, however, is that someone wants him dead, and Tillett tells police that he doesn't know who that individual is.
We have spoken to him, and he is claiming that he did not see who was the person or persons who fired shots at him. Nonetheless, police are still investigating the matter, and we detained several persons, but we had to release them.
Does he have any known beef with anyone in the area?
That area where he resides we know it is controlled by one of the groups there, and we spoke to him, and he says that he does not have an idea as to who might be the person or why is it that somebody wanted to shoot him.
Is it gang related? Do investigators believe so?
We have not determined that at this moment.
Is the victim associated or linked to any gang in the area?
Yes, he is.
The neighborhood, according to Tillett's sister, is rather quiet, and an incident such as the brazen shooting involving her brother is new to the area. Is it the first time recently that this kind of thing has happened, or is it perhaps something that has happened before in the immediate area where people are being shot at or persons are being targeted?
Well, they want to say the neighbor is a bad environment, but this is the first time this ever happened. Where the Fouid neighborhood, way in front of Fouid gate, the gunman come. So I don't know. But I don't want to say nothing else, but yeah, I left them to God.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Caetano.
A business establishment was hit on Wednesday night as patrons milled inside. Police confirmed today they are looking for 3 men that are persons of interest in the armed robbery at one of Belize City's popular watering holes. 4 armed men casually walked into Dreamlike City Bar located on the George Price Highway, and after inspecting the crowd, they pulled out their firearms and held up the owner and paying patrons. The frightful incident occurred after 9 o'clock, and investigators say that the men escaped with some cash, 2 cell phones, and personal documents.
Last night at about 9:30, 4 male persons entered Dreamlike City Bar, held up the owner and some patrons at gunpoint, and stolen from them were a small amount of cash, 2 cell phones, and other personal documents. So far, police are looking for 3 male persons that we believe can assist in the investigation.
Have the police been given any details as to how these persons carried out this pull-up?
Well, what we know is that there were several persons inside of the bar, and this person went in as regular customers, and thereafter they held them at gunpoint.
The establishment doesn't have a security guard at the door.
They do have one.
Okay, any security cameras inside or outside that may have captured the incident?
They have cameras, and that is what the police is looking at this moment.
There was another robbery this week in addition to the jacking at Circle R in Dreamlike City. At around 9:30 on Tuesday morning, a pair of armed assailants targeted Centaur Cable just after it opened for business. The cable company is located in Ramon's Plaza in Ladyville. The thief barged into the establishment and held up the cashier before making good his escape with a reported $500 in cash. The plaza is rigged with a system of surveillance cameras, and images of the thieves were captured. Investigators are reviewing the footage to determine who the culprits are.
Stolen from one of the persons inside of the office was a small amount of cash. The person thereafter made good his escape with the amount of cash that he has stolen.
The incident was captured on security cameras.
Yes, police are looking at the footages at this moment that they retrieved from the location.
Have investigators been able to make out the face of the thief?
Not at this moment.
Any suspects?
No.
There's much more news after the break, so stay tuned. On Wednesday night, we told you that over 100 students will be deregistered at University of Belize for not paying their school fees for this semester. As you heard in our report, the finance director said that they have exhausted all measures to contact the students so that they can settle their outstanding payments, but to no avail. Well, late this evening, a press release was sent out on behalf of the UB student government. The release says the Association of Student Government denounces the university's decision to publicly disclose student ID numbers on its Facebook page, an act they claim infringes on students' privacy. The release says that the student government recognizes that tuition is a source of income for the university, but that the conduct was punitive and not conducive to nurturing a healthy learning environment, and creates an intimidating and offensive atmosphere on campus and against the socioeconomic standing of our students. This act, according to the ASG, is contrary to its handbook of school rules and call for the immediate removal of the deregistration list from online platforms and other mediums. The release was just issued late this evening, but earlier today we caught up with President of UB, Clement Sankat, and asked him about the matter. In that interview, he told us that it is an internal matter and that the deregistration of students is not a new issue. He says that it happens every year and the issue has taken legs because it was posted on an online forum. Here's what he had to say about the matter.
That's an internal matter. Students always have to pay their tuition and fees. What is happening this year is the same thing. Every year it happens. The university gives these students as much time as we can. We are a very considerate institution. We care for our students. We give them as long a rope as is possible. But you know, they say everything has to come to an end sometime. So people need to be responsible. You want graduates who are also responsible. But we are very considerate.
So how do you respond to criticism or critics that might say that the university is putting their financial numbers over the best interests of the students?
Well, I will ask those critics, how do you want the university to run? How do you want the university to pay the salaries and wage? How do you want the university to do all that is happening around here? All of these students had opportunities to go to the finance department, to make their arrangements, to develop their payment plans, etc. Many have not gone. What do you do? These are young kids. We try to help them. But everybody has to be responsible. I know the government gives a couple hundred scholarships a year to needy students. The government does it, not the university. Well, I wish they can expand the scholarship scheme for needy students. The DFC has loans. We have engaged the DFC, always engaged them. We bring the DFC to the campus for them to talk to students about loans, and it's embarrassing, nobody shows up. Nobody shows up. So we bring the banks on campus for students to talk to them about loans, etc. You know, it's another part of the education of young people that is required, that you got to be responsible. And as I said, invest in your education because it's going to pay off in the long run. Everybody has to try to help in this, the entire country, because we do have students in need. We understand that. But the university also has income, and the university has expenditure, and we have to ensure that our income can meet our expenditure. Every month we have huge bills to pay to run this institution.
Today we asked Sankat his thoughts on the PUP's release to write off the students' debt at the University of Belize. Sankat said that he hadn't seen the release, but that it was a noble call to champion a write-off. He noted, however, that it will not solve the problem, saying it was unsustainable. He says more scholarships and an increase in subvention may help to offset costs to students, and that a more sustainable form of financing higher education must be explored.
If you do it now, you're going to create a precedent here that I hope you will be able to sustain. I would suggest one way to treat with these issues in Belize would be first to provide more scholarships that are based upon need. The need must be clear so that poor kids could come to the university. Another way to do it is to give the university a bigger subvention so that its tuition could be lowered so that you don't have to pay as much. I don't know if you understand what I mean. But I think that is a noble call from the opposition, but is it sustainable? That's the key. You start something, can you continue it? The problem in university education is to make it sustainable. You start with writing off debt today, what happens tomorrow? What happens the next year? I think we need to find a more sustainable form of financing higher education in Belize. It needs to be thought through very carefully. How much the student pays, how much the government pays, how much needy students, needy. These are clearly students who are from very difficult financial circumstances but have the academic ability. How you help them. So it's not easy. It's a complex issue, and it needs a discussion at a policy level. It needs a discussion. Honestly, it does need a discussion.
The PUP's release, titled, quote, "We need write-off, Mr. PM," unquote, is an obvious reference to the loan write-off to the son of the Cabinet Secretary. The release states that the government and the Minister of Education continue to trumpet the critical importance of education, yet they're prepared to remove access to education from these students in a matter of days. The PUP points to the double standard of the $40,000 loan to Joshua Perdomo, adding the government would have continued to pay over $200,000 annually to the daughter of Foreign Minister Wilfred Elrington were it not for public outcry. It also knocks the government for not increasing subvention when enrollment was increased at UB. All in all, the PUP is taking issue that family and friends of government are afforded financial benefits, but it is prepared to allow the university to kick out over 100 students who cannot meet their financial obligations. Another murder trial crumbled at the Supreme Court today when the defense attorney made a no-case submission since the prosecution could not prove their case without the key witness. 30-year-old Enfield Fitzgibbon, who was charged with the 2017 murder of Kemar Nicholas, was acquitted in the courtroom of Justice Colin Williams in a trial without jury. The case fell apart since the key witness, Ryan Rosado, could not be located. After the Crown closed its case, Fitzgibbon's attorney, Senior Counsel Simeon Sampson, submitted that Fitzgibbon did not have a case to answer. Justice Williams upheld the submission and found Fitzgibbon not guilty. After the court hearing, Sampson spoke to the media about the case.
Unfortunately, the prosecution was disappointed in that the key witness who said he saw the killing did not show up. That was one of these cases. So thereafter, the prosecution attempted to use circumstantial evidence in that my client was allegedly seen flinging an object into a yard. A gun was found in that yard. And the forensic analyst said that that weapon was associated with the body of the dead person. But the problem was, in whose hand was the trigger of that gun when it fired, killing? There was where hell broke loose. Police pursued my client. They overcame him, but it was night. So even though they caught up on him, the evidence is that the gun that the forensic analyst linked with the crime was found under a mat in front of a house on Mosul Street. Who put the gun there? And I think that was what That was what I used to demolish the case for the prosecution.
Kemar Nicholas was shot in his neck in the vicinity of Lindo's Alley in Belize City on the night of January 23, 2017. As a result, Nicholas was left paralyzed. Nicholas's family was in the middle of holding a fundraiser for him to receive treatment in Merida when he succumbed to his injuries 11 days after the incident. Since Fitzgibbon has another case before the court, he was offered bail in the sum of $10,000. The owner of Almacen Shanti in Corozal Town, Kishore Kumar, was charged with operating a money exchange business without a permit. On Wednesday, the businessman appeared before a magistrate and pleaded not guilty. He was offered bail of $150,000, which he met. He was ordered to surrender his travel documents and is to request permission to travel to the neighboring Chetumal for medical treatment. He is being represented by attorney Audrey Matura Shepherd. On Thursday, October 31st, Almacen Shanti was searched by police officers, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and officials from the Belize Tax Service Department. The search lasted for hours, and officers recovered a large quantity of cash. At the establishment, officers recovered 1.6 million pesos, $134,000 in U.S. currency, 181,000 Belize dollars, more than 100,000 rupees, and a few hundred Canadian dollars. He is currently the president of the Senate, but before Dow Bradley was the two-term mayor of Belize City. Bradley, the ambitious politician, however, stepped aside and did not seek re-election in 2018. It is not to say that he is ruling out active politics to serve as a sitting member of the House of Representatives, but to do so, he would first need to win a division. In his first attempt back in 2015, he was beaten by a small margin by current Caribbean Shores area rep Karim Musa. News 5 asked Bradley today about his political future with the UDP. One thing's for sure, he does not expect to contest in 2020.
I think that I'm taking a little hiatus. I think that there's always a good place to sit out sometimes, to reflect, to seek a little discernment, and just to get guidance and to calculate whatever next steps may be in the future for me political-wise. I don't think that one has to hold an office to be of service. I can always reflect on the fact that I teach, I practice law, I serve in the National Assembly, I do a lot of volunteer work and so forth, so that I think my orientation has always been wherever I am to be of service. Of course, I think I've made it no secret of the fact that I would hopefully someday want to aspire to higher elected office in this country, and I think that that is in the future, but I can't see in terms of exact steps tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and so forth.
We also have a general election that's coming up. Are you going to take advantage of that? Put your name in for a particular division?
Well, I would have to see. I mean, it is something that one kind of calculates. I won't be skirting the issue to say that that's something that I would want to do. So I would actually want to do that, but it would depend on circumstances, it would depend on my family, it would depend on other considerations. And I've been the type of person who I think that opportunities and doors open themselves if you're at the right spot. I was disappointed in relation to the Caribbean Shores elections. I thought it would have gone the other way, but of course, notwithstanding that. But I think that it was my first attempt at elected office at the highest level of the country, and that's something I think I would give at least one more shot. I don't know where, I don't know what time, but that's something that I would seriously consider with a view to do that.
While Bradley did not comment on the leadership race between John Saldivar and Patrick Faber, we asked if he too would aspire to be the UDP leader or Prime Minister of the country whenever he decides to re-enter into active politics. Given his track record at City Hall and the political power that comes with the highest elected office as Prime Minister, Bradley feels that he would be able to do more for the country.
But someday in the future, you'd see my name on a ballot again.
And possibly the next Prime Minister of the country.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, like, I think that that's kind of...
It's an aspiration.
I mean, it's always an aspiration. I think that when somebody goes up for something, and I've always been that kind of person, I think that if you want to make serious change in the country, you have to make it at the top. I was at City Hall, and there were a lot of plans that I think we got done, but there were a lot more things that I wanted to get done, and I saw that you had resistance, because you need really that political power at the highest level to make the kind of serious change that I think the country practically needs. And if I say that I would want to run for an elected office, clearly one who is ambitious would want to run for the highest elected office, because you think that you can make a contribution in that way to the nation. It's not necessarily that I would say that I would want to be prime minister for my own self. I would want to be prime minister because I feel that I could be of service to the country and I can contribute something similar to what I did at City Hall, but with more influence and more ability to get things done.
After the break, the red kettles are ringing as the Salvation Army and Scotiabank team for food and gift drive. The University of Belize and the Inter-American Development Bank partnered to create a short-term program to build the local capacity of the management of natural and climate hazards along the Belize coastal zone. 28 engineers, including private contractors and employees of the Central Building Authority, Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute, Ministry of Works, Forest Department, Fisheries Department, Geology and Petroleum Department, and Sustainable Tourism Program, completed the program. They held a short ceremony today to hand out certificates and recognize the top performers. Reporter Andrea Polanco was there and has the story.
Belize's coastal zone is a complex and dynamic resource that provides protection, food, jobs, and revenue. It also supports a variety of marine life and habitats. The services it provides are valued close to $600 million every year. In 2010, more than 40% of the country's people lived along the coast and offshore. But development and population growth make this region vulnerable, and in the last couple decades, an even bigger threat has emerged.
Climate change is expected to increase the vulnerability of Belize coastal zone and the capacity of coastal natural assets to provide these ecosystem services and economically beneficial products.
Climate change is already impacting coastal areas as a result of sea level rise. This causes increase in flood risk, coastal erosion, and loss of coastal lagoons and barrier islands. It can also increase saltwater into freshwater system, further endangering coastal ecosystems. As a result of this, Belize, like other countries in this region, must be prepared to respond to and adapt to these changes so that they don't turn into long-term social, environmental, and economic problems. So to help strengthen the capacities of those who work in and around our coastal zones, the University of Belize, through its Environmental Research Institute and the IDB, carried out a 6-month course to teach engineers, planners, and other managers how to plan, design, and carry out risk-resilient coastal protection infrastructure and sustainable land use policy and practices.
It's a partnership with the IDB. It's climate adaptation planning for the coastal zone. It's targeting mainly practitioners, as we call them. So that's like engineers, people that work in the coastal zone, and the technical people dealing with planning, use of the coastal zone, so places like the Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute, the Forest Department, Fisheries, and so forth. So it's a hands-on course to equip them to understand all the challenges with the coastal zone, especially in the context of climate change, and particularly for engineers to understand what kinds of tools they can apply in having a more sustainable construction and infrastructure, given, Belize's very high risk to climate change, and we're seeing impacts of that already.
What are some of the activities that they did during the course of the program?
So it was a course lasting over, I think, 6 months in 5 different modules, and it consisted of several days of workshops and field trips. So they went to field sites to assess, various features that they were looking at that point. But there was also an online portion before they came to the face-to-face workshops where they had to read and review and I think complete assignments, or reading assignments at least. So it's a mixed mode course.
Today, the 28 participants received their certificates of completion. 3 of those participants received a distinction. Tristan Usher was a top student.
It is imperative for us as engineers and other technical professionals to be highly conscious of the coastal engineering structures, their use and effectiveness, as well as to heed the lessons learned from bad practices that have imposed implications on our coastal region. Training programs such as this one helps us not only to better equip ourselves technically, but also to create a paradigm in the decision-making process relative to coastal engineering and management. It emphasizes the importance that there is no one-fix-all approach, as well as the significance of having factual and relevant data. Isn't it ironic that there isn't sufficient coastal data for Belize? However, more than 60% of Belize's population currently lives on or near the coast. Nonetheless, it's a start, where a unique and resourceful program such as this helps us to catapult our understanding of all the fundamentals of coastal engineering and management.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
There's much more news after the break, so stay tuned. This morning in the downtown area of the city, the Salvation Army launched its annual Kettle Appeal, ushering in the season for giving. The sounds of the ringing of the red kettle was heard all over as the organization kicked off its prominent charitable event through which it hopes to bring joy at Christmas time to children and their families. The Salvation Army is partnering with Scotiabank to raise thousands of dollars for the food and gifts drive. News 5's Dwayne Moody was on hand for the launch and has the following report.
You know that Christmas is approaching when you hear the ringing bells and see uniformed officers of the Salvation Army in position. Red kettles or pots are placed across the city at supermarkets and other key locations for persons to donate and assist with the humanitarian work of the organization. Today, downtown Albert Street in Belize City was filled with the Christmas vibe. As for the fourth consecutive year, Scotiabank Belize is partnering with Salvation Army, giving a donation of $2,000.
We know that they will reach the people that we really want to reach. It's starting to become a tradition for us. We see this as a good way to give back. So they have always asked us to support, and we always are willing to facilitate them.
How important is this to the work that Scotiabank does?
It's very important because indirectly this donation will reach people that actually are our customers, and in extension their family members, people that they might really wanted to give to. So indirectly it's us giving on behalf of them as well.
Kettles will also be placed at Scotiabank offices on Albert Street and Belama Branch. But in 2018, the Salvation Army was about $6,000 short of meeting its target of $100,000. With a new district commander in place, Major Jonathan Kelman says that the target remains the same. This time, however, they will be sending out letters for donations.
The target for this year is 100,000. It will be in two ways, from the Kettle Appeal and the Mail Appeal. The letters go out simultaneously with the Kettle Appeal, so people will soon start to see the letters in the mailbox. And this year we actually added our bank account number because some people may just want to do it online, online banking. So we're going to start from today, and we're going to creep up to December 24th.
Former Mayor Darrell Bradley attended the launch to make a donation, while Deputy Mayor Oscar Arnold asked for the public to be generous.
Visitors to our fair city by the sea, everyone who will be downtown shopping and in the environs surrounding the city, to please support the Kettle Appeal by the Salvation Army, while the rest of us go about our shopping and getting all the chores done. We can rest assured that the Salvation Army and their team are working tirelessly to ensure that those that are less fortunate, those who would ordinarily not have a meal for Christmas, will enjoy one this Christmas.
The funds collected are used to host a Christmas luncheon with gifts for hundreds of students. This year it will be held on December 6th at the Holy Redeemer Parish Hall. Hundreds of families also receive food pantry for the Christmas. Major Jonathan Kelman says that they are also looking for volunteers to assist.
This year we're not just asking for help from the private sector with the actual finances and contribution, but we're asking them to help us on our service days. We have 2 service days this year, November the 23rd and December the 14th, where we're asking business houses to put together teams and come out to the spots to get those spots, because the people know them, and because they see them, it encourages people to give better and give more. It's actually a great opportunity to touch the lives of many people, and because we look after so many children and adults during the year, this is just another opportunity that we can really get closer, and the hearts of people are tender at this time of the year.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The source of water from which many are able to drink, cook, and use for other activities has often been taken for granted as an infinite well that supplies the country. Assuming that the well won't someday dry up, most Belizeans are carefree about their use of water. Given the recent occurrences where the supply of water has been interrupted, as well as the inconvenience caused by shortage, Belize Water Services Limited reminds its customers to be more mindful of their consumption. The utility company also calls for increased environmental awareness where it concerns sources such as watersheds and tables.
We need to call on everybody who has the power to start protecting our water resources in Belize. We've been taking it too long for granted that Belize has plenty of everything, including water. Yes, we might have plenty. We had just came out of a drought, so we see we did not have a plenty during then. But the quality of the water that is now coming down these rivers, we need to ensure that they remain in the quality that our plants can treat, or else we will be in trouble. We look at New River. Thank goodness that was not our source in the north. We get water strictly from wells. But if anything that happened to the Belize River happened to the New River happens on the Belize River, 3 municipalities, St. Ignacio, Santa Elena combined, Belmopan, and Belize, we will have some serious concerns on how we can treat that quality of water.
Coming up after the break, a job fair takes place this weekend, and we'll have the highlights from the film festival. A job fair takes place this weekend, so if you're looking for work, the place to be is on Coney Drive in Belize City. Transparent BPO is looking for individuals who want to work for the upcoming holidays or a more long-term placement. BPO is employing about 8,000 persons, but as it grows, so do the opportunities. Here's News 5's Dwayne Moody.
GDP grew in the 3 months from January through March by a most unusual 5.2%. And the even better accompanying news was that the unemployment rate fell to a historic low of 7.6%.
Back in September, at his Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Dean Barrow told the nation that unemployment rate fell to a historic low of 7.6%. The data is supported by the Statistical Institute of Belize, which reported that during an April 2019 labor force survey, the number of persons employed was 164,028. Those figures, according to SIB, grew by 8,500 when compared to 2018. 28.8% of those persons were between the ages of 25 and 34. But annually, thousands of students graduate from secondary and tertiary institutions and are in search of jobs. While some are fortunate to acquire employment, others continue the search. In the case of Jonathan Young from Belize City, he's been job hunting for over a year since he acquired his degree.
We as Belizeans all know that right now job is something hard, difficult to find, and at the time Transparent BPO, is readily available to, enroll people, who's seeking a job, and I found that really, helpful towards the Belizean public, and also it helps us as people to structure our, our primary language as English, as we all know that Belizeans, struggle with the English.
You're freshly out from school, or?
Well, basically, I've graduated since last year, and it was a really difficult task, trying to send out job applications.
Over the past decade, the business process outsourcing industry has expanded in Belize. It has rapidly become one of the larger employers in the private sector. To mark its 10th anniversary, Transparent BPO, headquartered on Coney Drive in Belize City, is expanding even further. It recently launched another office on the Philip Golson Highway, and a Belmopan location will be officially opened in early 2020. Recruitment manager Audrey Enriquez says that they are over 1,000 employees strong and have put in place transportation and other forms of support to accommodate employees from the districts as well.
Transparent BPO stays visible in the job market, really looking for these great talents to come aboard our team. Currently, we are over 1,000 employees, which make us the second largest employer in Belize, of course. It is our big 10th anniversary, and so we're just looking for more talents to come aboard our team.
Okay, so come this Saturday, you guys have a job fair.
Yes, this will be the 3rd job fair for this year, but it will also be the last one as well. So we're looking for individuals that, they're just looking to make some money for the Christmas season. We do have job opportunities for them. And for individuals that are looking for something that is more long-term, definitely we do have job opportunities in the field of sales, customer service, technical support, and data entry. The turnover process is so quickly that when you apply, you test, you could start working within a week's time. One of the privileges of coming out to the job fair is on Saturday, which will be at our location that is on Coney Drive. You get to know if you get the job on the spot.
But even before the job fair on Saturday on Coney Drive, several persons are taking advantage of the employment opportunity. Young and Shanita Galvez says that it is a path to develop their professional skills.
It's very hard. I've been looking. Hopefully I get this one.
Mm-hmm. No, why Transparent? Why did you choose Transparent?
Oh, I've heard a lot of things about it.
Mm-hmm. Good things?
Great things.
So and what's your anticipation?
They give benefits, I heard.
Transparent offers a lot of, when it comes to job raising, when you, to further your, as a career, it can further you to become maybe a supervisor and different roles within the company.
As long as you have the will and skill, you will definitely be a fit for a company. The skill would be having basic computer knowledge, and you're able to speak English, of course. And then the will would be you're open to learning, because we go through a training process. So for those individuals that say, well, I don't have any call center work experience, that is fine. You go through a training process where we equip you with all the information that you would need to be successful on the call floor.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The job fair is open to persons from across the country. It starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 3 p.m. at the Transparent BPO headquarters on Coney Drive in Belize City. The Belize International Film Festival 2019 kicked off in grand fashion on Wednesday evening with the red carpet treatment. The opening night of the 14th edition of the festival, hosted by Candice Gibson, saw a number of familiar and not so familiar faces grace the stage at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Here's a snapshot of the opening ceremony.
Yes. What is it about this film festival that is so important to the Taiwanese Belizean community?
Well, Kenneth, as you know, this year, 2019, marks the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between Belize and Taiwan. So all kinds of ideas came into our mind that how are we going to celebrate this robust and long-lasting friendship? And so we definitely would never give up the idea of, through culture, through film, through movies, that maybe actually this kind of a great hobby that everybody enjoys.
We've seen how much this festival has impacted the filmscape of Belize. We hear the speakers talk about, I was listening to one of the jurors talk about that our festival is 14 years old, and that's a feat in any Caribbean country because they come and they go. And in fact, that's kind of one of the reasons we're here tonight. We have to thank all our supporters. We need to thank all of you that come out and watch the films. We need to thank Niche for believing in the festival and supporting it when we came there.
It makes me proud to be a part of what I've seen and what I've been seeing in this industry. This is a real chance for us to tell our stories. And I hope that all the filmmakers here realize that and take advantage of that. We've been tasked with the responsibility of laying out what Belize is and what Belize is about. So every story that we tell, I hope that our filmmakers take that to heart.
We cannot just sit and wait for some foreign entity to make a decision once in a while to come and film their story, or for them to create their version of our story. Why can't we tell our own stories? Belize is blessed, and not just with scenery, but with stories. And I mean a lot of stories. Our filmmakers are humble and passionate, individuals who need every ounce of encouragement from us. We're now working toward viewing ourselves as importers of foreign films and establishing Belize as an exporter. Many possibilities lie ahead.
Up next, Healthy Living looks at oral hygiene. Last week around this time, children were out collecting their fair share of sweets and treats. Now that Halloween is over, it is an excellent time to reassess your family's oral hygiene. That's the focus of tonight's Healthy Living, where we discover that even the good habits you think you have can be setting back your oral health.
This segment of Healthy Living is brought to you by Radisson Fort George Hotel and Marina. Yes, I can.
Chances are that from as far back as you can remember, you were told how important it is to brush your teeth. But even if you brush 3 times a day every day, it doesn't mean you're practicing good oral hygiene.
One of the most common things is root canal and periodontal or gum disease, right? Those two, they're very much common in our society today, right? And it all stems from the basic oral care at home.
Dental surgeon at Innova Dental Care, Dr. Dwayne Usher, says the problem is that too many people are using the wrong tools and techniques in their daily dental care.
For everyone growing up, they tell you take the toothbrush up and down, back and forth, around and around, circular motion, right? That's fine for young kids growing up, teenagers or so. But when we reach adulthood, the body starts to change, right? Our tissues, our muscle tone, a lot of things become different, right? And if we're constantly, every day, brushing our teeth, 1, with a hard bristle toothbrush, and 2, with the wrong technique, whereby we're just yanking up and down and back and forth, then what we eventually end up doing is destroying the gum line around these teeth.
So while you may have the best intentions aggressively brushing up and down, what you're doing is packing all those food particles under the gum and causing more damage in the long run.
As time progresses, this just accumulates more and more and more. The tissue becomes inflamed. Then we say, oh, my gums are bleeding when I brush. That's gingivitis. It starts there. Now, if that continues, what happens is it will accumulate. Like I said, it's cumulative. Eventually, all the tartar, the plaque that builds up there will end up hardening because it becomes mineralized by the saliva. And that same saliva ends up basically calcifying the plaque that's building up there. So after a certain period of time, it starts to harden. It becomes really hard and it's adhered to your teeth. And that, again, accumulates. And so then you start seeing these brown stains, this dark, hard stuff around the edge of our teeth. And even more bleeding, even more inflammation, even more discomfort.
Eventually, if this continues, you'll probably end up in a dentist chair with more severe and painful complications. According to Dr. Usher, a lot of these problems can be prevented by correcting common mistakes, the first of which we make in the supermarket.
Toothbrush, very important. A lot of times we feel like we have to scrub with teeth, right? It's like what? We grew up there, scrub your teeth, right? Aha. But it's not scrubbing. It's brushing, right? So when you go to the store, you'll find on the shelf, you'll find the soft bristles, you'll find the hard bristles. The ideal one is the medium. It's soft enough to get in all the necessary crevices and still stiff enough to clean properly. So what we need to do, starting off with a medium bristle toothbrush, you place your toothbrush at a 45-degree angle towards your gum line, right? And you do basically a downward sweeping motion, right? A downward sweeping motion. Now we won't have our teeth together, right? You'll have your mouth somewhat open, and then you'll be focusing just on your top teeth first. The bottom teeth, 45-degree angle towards your gum line, and you come upward, right? Upward. Whatever you do on the outside, it's the same thing you're going to do on the inside. We want up, down, and out, down and out. You want everything out. You don't want to be packing anything in there. At the bottom, it's up and out, inside, outside. Chewing surface, regular circular motion is fine. That's all enamel. That can handle the stress.
And no discussion about proper oral hygiene would be complete without a reminder to floss.
It's not a common part of our culture, right? I know maybe most times people would say, oh, I barely have time to brush my teeth and through the door. It takes time. When we brush, everything is nice and clean. Yes, you feel good, right? You just clean up. But what happens to these tiny food particles that are lodged in between the teeth, that are stuck along the gum lines and so forth, right? These are the food particles that, left lingering, end up causing more gum disease and decay. If we can implement flossing as a part of our oral care and oral hygiene, we would avoid a lot of your dental visits.
Correcting these common mistakes will not only improve your overall oral health, but also spare you costly dental visits, as you should have fewer complications.
Once you can practice this proper brushing with proper flossing, you'll be good. You visit your dentist for your routine cleans and so forth, and you'll be okay. And then we will start to reduce the stigma of, oh, a dentist is pain and it's bad and everything, right? We're here to help. We're definitely here to help.
This segment of Healthy Living was brought to you by Radisson Fort George Hotel and Marina. Yes, I can.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, good night.